everyone. Welcome to Navigating New Narratives with Cheyenne and Raynell. Happy Sunday, football Sunday, repping the Buffalo Bills. They're playing today at 1 o'clock. Ryan, to my to my left here's got the Chiefs hat on, and we are rivals when it comes to football, but friends when it comes to life. So, welcome Ryan Hill. He is the director and producer of A Sobering Story. A lot of people in Thunder Bay will know what that is, if not everybody in Thunder Bay. Um, Very popular, very amazing movie that I got a chance to see before everybody else. I got invited to the advanced screening. I cried the entire time. Ray, you saw the movie, right? Yeah,
Yes, of
just
course.
amazing. So here's Ryan, and I'll let him introduce himself a little bit, tell you about himself, and then get into maybe why you started becoming interested in making that movie and what got you drawn to that type of film.
First off, thanks for having me on. Much like your taste in football teams, you're a little incorrect about the introduction.
Okay.
Ryan Lavia is actually the director of the film.
Okay.
I'm one of the producers and the cinematographer for the film.
Okay.
So that is a great segue to give a little shout out to Mr. Lavia. This was his creation. Are we allowed to say people's names on the podcast? Um,
In good faith, yes, definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so way early on, it's been so many years since this started. He met with Mark at Crossroads, and they sat down and talked about it. And he said, is there enough substance to make an hour and a half film on this? And Mark was like, yeah, definitely. So, like everybody who has any interest in recovery and addiction and finding out more of the facts and educating themselves. We both read In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts, which I'm sure probably 90% of your listeners have read. And from there, we got in touch with Kyle Arnold. I can't remember who. Um, Maybe, yeah, I don't even remember. It's been so long. And everything just snowballed from there. You have to hear Kyle's story. You have to hear this person's story. You have to hear this person's story. It came to a point where I think we did 52 interviews that we had for the film between what we would call people's stories to experts corroborating what they're saying to we did 3 ride-alongs with Thunder Bay Police, which I recommend everybody should do before they have an opinion on Thunder Bay Police.
Why not?
And yeah, that's kind of how it started. And I've said this on numerous occasions. The reason this started for me when Ryan Lavia, who's an award-winning filmmaker in Thunder Bay, says, "Hey, do you want to make a movie with me?" You say, "Fuck yes, I want to make a movie with you."
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
very true. Nice. So, what did you like once you started to get into the film, once you started to like do all of the interviews and stuff, was this something that you was new to you, or was it something that you already had experience with? Like, did it open your eyes to new things? What was the experience like?
I'm sure a lot of your listeners have heard this saying too. Well, why can't you just quit? Why can't you just put it down?
Mhm.
That had been my experience previous to A Sobering Story. I didn't have a lot. There's definitely alcoholism and substance use in my family, but I mean, my dad had 18 brothers and sisters, and my mom had seven. So I have like 43 million first cousins. Yeah, of course, at some point, there's going to be some trauma and some substance use and stuff
Yeah,
in the family, but I never really gave it much thought because it wasn't anyone really close to me.
right.
Um, so yeah, I had no experience with substance use, and there was a lot of different things along the way that changed my mind. But I think for me, the smoking gun, I'm a very empirical, scientific person. If you want to prove a point to me, show me the evidence supporting what you're saying. Don't show me a Facebook article. Don't show me a magazine from um redflags.com. Like, show me something empirical that I can measure. And we did actually 2 interviews with a neuropsychologist. I can't remember which one it is. I won't say their name on here, but it was really the smoking gun for me when they explained the neuroscience, how dopamine goes into different parts of the brain and what the prefrontal cortex does, the amygdala, all the different things that happen in active addiction. Oh, okay. Maybe this isn't a choice. Maybe this isn't why people just can't put it down.
Right.
And then having met and formed relationships with people like Kyle, Christine, um, getting to know their stories. I mean, I guess in some ways that's empirical evidence. Why are my friends going to lie to me about their lives and their stories? And I've heard Kyle's story so many times, I can tell it almost as well as he can. So,
Yeah.
it was for me, it was the scientific based part of it, and everything else just kind of fell into place, and it makes sense.
Right. No, that's very true. Um, Ray, do you have anything just like you watched the movie? What did you think? Like,
Oh, for sure. Like, yeah, I watched the movie quite a while ago, and it was definitely emotional, and it hit home with me, of course, like hearing other people's journeys and how it affects other individuals. But um also for me, it was powerful because it was bringing light to something that is often so stigmatized in such like a meaningful way that you get to like you actually feel what the people are feeling on the screen, which I think it was so beautifully done, and I thought it was so powerful, and I think that it helped bring understanding to individuals who might have had the same kind of thought process that you did, Ryan. Like, why don't these people just stop? Right? Like, because Cheyenne and I have heard that too, like when we've shared a little bit of like history about what it was like because we were mothers when we were using substances, and people are like, well, why can't you, if you really loved your kids, you just stop, right? But it's such like a vicious cycle. It's like for me it was like I missed him so much, but the guilt and the shame was so unbelievable that it actually kept me in the cycle, right? It's like I feel so horrible, and I don't have any proper coping mechanisms or skills to use. I don't want to feel that pain, right? So it's just like, um, yeah, the film was absolutely beautiful in such like a real experience way. And I think it opened the minds of other people who got to see it. And it was started like a really big movement, I feel like, an awareness to the problem that we're seeing, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
agree. Um,
Thanks.
yeah,
Just one point to that. We I tried and I think we succeeded at making it an educational film, not pointing fingers at anybody, not blaming anybody, keeping everything rather neutral,
totally.
and not promoting one form of recovery versus abstinence versus taking Suboxone or something like. We tried to be neutral, and now since I'm usually the one with the microphone, and it's weird not being the one with the microphone, did either of you learn anything from Sobering Story? Is there anything that you took away that you didn't know even after going through active addiction? Was there anything that either of you learned?
So I'll start with that. So the thing is, I did my undergrad thesis in stigma work, but it was mental health stigma. But one of the things in all of the academia on stigma is that one of the things that reduces stigma is to have connected experiences, like to be in close connection with somebody. Like if you don't know anybody who's an addict or you don't know anybody who has a mental health problem and you don't have anybody close to you, you haven't gotten to know them, the stigma is greater. Once you get more connected and closer and become friends with them or listen to them or talk to them, any sort of close contact whatsoever, the stigma starts to diminish. So, um, what I learned from your movie is that you created that on a wide screen and it reached probably a lot more people than you thought. I didn't know that that was going to be the outcome of that movie was like because even my stigma, like even my thesis supervisor was like, "Oh, tonight me and everybody are going to watch this movie. Have you heard of it? It's called A Sobering Story." And I was like, yeah, like I know everybody that's in it. Like I literally know every character in that movie like as a on a personal level." And and she was using it as a way to reduce like she was going into it in the eye of a researcher, a PhD researcher with her lab solely working on all types of stigma. And that's something that I learned from the movie, because this is before I got really vocal about my life's story. Um, is that what you were doing was that on a grand scale? You were putting people in close contact with people who were addicts, families of addicts, and doing that like in a way where almost like they didn't have a choice. Like it wasn't like they met them at the grocery store. You know what I mean? Like they were just going to watch a movie and then it was like, holy shit, I just met four addicts and now I know their story and now I'm kind of a little bit more informed. So what I learned was like, hey, if I'm going to make a difference in this world that I was living in, um, I need to get something going here similar to that and start being open and honest and letting go of all of the shame and the guilt, and then bringing Raynell on board to like to be with me, and now here we are, and like we both embraced it, and it was hard for both of us. I've been more real on this podcast than I ever have been in my whole entire life, and I'm just myself, and I hope it's connecting with people. So that's what I learned from your movie. I learned to become the advocate that I wanted to be. So, or the
Oh, that's
advocate.
amazing.
Yeah.
Um, Before Renell answers, it's funny that you kind of talked about the connection that you felt with those people. Um, I don't think I've told this story publicly, but our editor actually approached Christine in the film he works for a company that does conferences. And he's like, "Oh, hey, how are you?" Not realizing that they've never met in person. He saw her face so many times and heard her story so many times. He's like, "I just wanted to go up to her and give her a big hug." But then I thought it would be weird because I've never met her before.
Right.
And he felt so connected to her just from editing the film, right? So I can definitely see how that connection. And I mean, you do hear a lot, the opposite of addiction is connection, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So that was a big takeaway for
That's
me.
cool.
Yeah. And now here we are,
Yeah,
navigating New Narratives podcast with Raynell and Cheyenne.
for sure. I think for myself, um, I at the beginning of my recovery journey, I was pretty especially when I came back to Thunder Bay, I wouldn't say isolated, but I just spent a lot of time with just like my family specifically and didn't talk about my experiences. There was still like a lot of shame and guilt, even though did a bit of like the healing journey and all those things while I was in BC. But for me, after I watched that, it it helped me do exactly what Cheyenne and I are, like she said, trying to do here is it helped me to embrace my story, my experiences, and be loud about recovery. That it's okay what I've gone through and I don't need to be like ashamed of it. And I thought it was really inspiring. The same kind of thing that I've shared that I felt with Cheyenne watching her be so vocal over the years, because that's not typically who I am. Like being on this podcast with Cheyenne brought me so much out of my comfort zone, because this isn't my personality. I would say like I'm pretty introverted,
Right.
and I've always kind of been, I'm a big observer, and a lot of that has to do from my experiences in childhood that weren't so great, is that I do a lot of things like to protect myself. But watching that and watching other people share their experiences, I was like, my God, that's brave. And that's beautiful. And it really helped me um be more kind to myself. I think that's what I learned on more of like a personal level is um how to just like keep healing and not be ashamed of myself or the things that I've gone through or the things that I've done during that. So, and ultimately to bring me to where I sit right now on this podcast with Cheyenne. is being loud in recovery, it makes a difference and it matters. And I know that because those people on your film did that exact same thing and it had a huge impact for me. So I think that's what Cheyenne and I are trying to do too right now is um, be loud and
Mhm.
provide hope and experiences for people to that they can relate to as well. So um, thank you for that.
Yeah. And
It's sorry, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, and it was Kyle and you. Like I saw Kyle on Facebook, and I was just like, man, this dude, he just doesn't care. Like he's walking around with a sweater that says like fentanyl survivor, or I don't know what the heck it was, and like all this stuff, and I'm like, aren't you like fucking ashamed of that? Like, don't you want nobody to know? Like, I wanted no one to know at first. Like,
Yeah.
nobody. I was like, I'm running a gym for kids. I'm running a charity. I'm going to freaking university. Like, I'm trying to get into like, I want to get a PhD. If these people know anything about my past, they're going to be like, get the fuck out of here. Like, like you're going to be shunned. And it was actually the complete fucking opposite of that. Like, complete opposite. Like, there should be nothing in anybody's brain where addiction is something that should be shamed, um, or or even looked down upon in any way, shape, or form. Substances have been around since the dawn of time. People have been using substances all over the world. Like, they're natural. Opium is natural, cocaine is natural, marijuana is natural. If you don't think that these tribes have been using substances forever, this is a social problem. This isn't a drug problem, it's a social
Yeah.
problem. So we need to be taking care of the social aspect of it. And it actually isn't even our jobs as a producer, as podcasters, to be taking this on, but we are. It's a big venture, but that's not our, it really isn't our job. But I mean, we're the only ones doing anything about it at this point. So,
Well, I mean, with a sobering story, with having screenings and with us going digital soon, with you guys continuing with your narratives, pun intended, um, it just keeps dialogue open. It keeps things top of mind. There's so many other good and bad things going on in the world that it keeps what you're doing top of mind, which is important, and it keeps the dialogue open. And I think an important thing that you did touch on is I do find Kyle, if you ever have him on the podcast, um, he will talk about his recovery being number one over anything on this entire planet because that's all he has. If he doesn't have it, er- I will burn this place to the ground. So I find people who are in the recovery community can sometimes be myopic about recovery, which isn't a bad thing. But if you think of stigma in general, like you were alluding to, there's stigma around mental health still. There's stigma around men's mental health. There's stigma around addiction. There's stigma. If you see people often see somebody maybe going through chemo and they're like, oh, look at that person. There's stigma around everything. And that's something we need to eliminate for anybody who's championing any kind of cause. Of all the stupid, well, not super stupid, but of all the TV shows and all the things that I could watch, I heard a really good quote that's really kind of inspired me, and it's helped me kind of reduce stigma around a lot of different things. It was an episode of Ted Lasso. He quoted the American author Walt Whitman, and it's just a super simple quote: "Be curious and not judgmental."
right.
Why is that person funny looking and bald? Well, maybe they're going through cancer. Oh, okay. Why is that person homeless? Maybe they've gone through so much trauma and things that you can't comprehend that are beyond the scope of your imagination. Um, I'm trying to think of something else that people stigmatize people for, but sitting down and maybe hearing someone's story and you're giving people a platform to do that where maybe some of your past guests or future guests have been looked down upon in the city or in the community. They're going to have a chance to come on here and tell their story, and people can be curious and not judgmental about them and their story at some point maybe. That's been a big one for me to help stop stigma, to look at the world through a different lens, and it kind of gives me a little peace of mind, even in some instances. Um, I think Cheyenne and I kind of talked about this the other day where it's kind of you know theorized that humans are born innately good, and it's society and other things that corrupt them and change them. So what happened to those people along the way? What happened to maybe some of the most notorious serial killers or whatever? Having that reason to think why and be curious about it instead of just saying they're a piece of shit. It kind of gives me a little piece to deal with some of the bad things in the world.
Right. And I,
Right.
while you were talking, I was just looking this up because like I forgot the name of it, but there's a name for this in social psychology called the actor observer bias. So it's like a cognitive bias that people use to understand their own and others' behavior in different ways. So like one of the examples of it is like when you're driving and you see somebody like zoom past you, like going like, 120 kilometers an hour. Yeah, the first thing you is like, fuck you, asshole. Like, fucking get off the road. You're a piece of shit and you drive like crap and like you should be arrested and blah, blah, blah. Your mind automatically goes to that. It doesn't go to, hey, maybe there's somebody in their back seat that's fucking dying and needs to get to the hospital. Maybe their child, maybe there's an emergency. That's not where your first thought goes. Your first thought goes to, this
What
is
an asshole.
what an
Yeah.
asshole, what a piece of shit, you know? So like there's these social um thing like social terms that happen and these social things that we do. Um like there's groupthink, like like that's a huge one. Like where, when a group of people make decisions that, like once you're part of a group, you all conform to um the same type of mentality and all that kind of stuff. So once this has happened to society, when it comes to anybody who's stigmatized, how do we get rid of that groupthink? Like how do we dismantle it person by person? I mean, it's almost impossible. Like it's hard, right? So yeah,
That's an interesting thought, and I think uh post COVID, when everybody was forced to be alone and to be segregated and secluded for obvious reasons, I think a lot of groups formed, some alt-right groups, some alt-left groups, um, and people just wanted to be accepted into a group and have that socialization because we are social animals, even though some of us identify as introverts.
right.
We do crave that social interaction from time to time, and I think that post COVID, those groups, whether they're a positive or a negative group, are far more prevalent than they used to be.
Right. And I want to correct myself. It's not the actor observer bias, it's the fundamental attribution error. Sorry, I just want to get the right term out there. That's when you overemphasize personal characteristics and underemphasize the situational factors that are explaining someone's behavior. So that is exactly what is happening with addicts. We're overemphasizing their characteristic, like their personal, we're putting it on the person, and we're underemphasizing whatever situational factors brought them there. And that's
Right.
what the problem is here. And it's been happening in society forever. So
On
I'm
so many
Do-
different topics.
so many different
It's
levels.
not just addiction. It's basically anything and everything.
Yeah.
And I think like I've talked about this before where it's just like it's so frustrating when I see those things happening and I'm not perfect. Like I do the same things, but the thing is like I do my best to catch it
Right.
immediately.
Yeah.
Like I think that's just human nature to do that. But I like actually wrote it down. Like I love the be curious, not judgmental, because like we talk about that all the time, but in different phrases and different words. Like the thing I usually say is like just be kind.
Yeah.
Like it's so much
it's easier than
Well,
it
yeah.
you would think it's easier, but I think realistically, it's even when someone cuts you off and you're like, oh fuck you, right? Like I sometimes get like that. Like I'm driving to work sometimes in Cheyenne and I will be on the phone and I'll be like, what is this guy doing?
No, do you remember when I was using voice to text and it came to you and I was like, fuck you, you fucking transport truck. I don't give a shit that it went to you as a
Yeah.
text message.
Yeah. It's
Hi, my name is Ryan. I suffer from road rage.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
right
So,
yeah.
though. I think it's so much easier for folks this day and age just to hop into the negativity. And I think that goes for even just like memories. Like um I can think of a lot of the horrible, horrible things that happened to me, even though like I've tried really hard not to think about those things, and not so much a lot of the good stuff. It's just like our brain, I think, has a mechanism to do that in order to protect ourselves. It's just easier to be um negative, like with something that everybody has to like actively work on until it becomes like just the pathway in your brain that you go is just to be kind, right? I think it's all about the way that our brain has developed and the wires that have fused together that cause people's behavior. Obviously, like our brains do that type of thing.
I think some of that also stems from us being a byproduct of our environment where we
Oh,
grew
for
up,
sure.
how we were raised, with those things. And I'm not speaking for myself when I use this example, but maybe you grew up in a small town with 100 people and there was nobody of any other ethnicity except for Caucasian.
Right.
The first time you go to a big city and you see some people with a different ethnicity, maybe you'd be scared or uncomfortable because of maybe the way they've been portrayed in the media or the stories you've heard from other people, where maybe that bias or that stereotype about that particular ethnicity is not true. But since you don't have any experience with it, you tend to fear things that we fear the unknown, right? Like,
For
100%.
sure.
I I I don't want to judge people or say that they're bad people for thinking the way they do, but again, it's part of that being curious and not judgmental as to why certain people would be uncomfortable around a trans person, a black person, Indian, whatever we want to throw out there for gender or cultural people. If you've never been around people, and I mean certain things, certain people, certain things are villainized by the media, and that, could very well carry to somebody who grew up in a town of 100 people, like I said. So there is that part of stigma that we're familiar with what we know,
And you know
right?
what? I think that it doesn't
Absolutely, yeah.
even we don't even need to fault them for that. Like we could use the word ignorance, but that's kind of like a mean way to say it. Like if you think about it, a child who is like maybe like 4 or 5 years old is introduced to a new environment or a new space or a new person or somebody that looks different than the family that they come from, they have to, maybe they're a little shy at first. Maybe they just need to like kind of, okay, is this person safe? Are they okay? Like, is mom talking to them? Like, and then they start to get more comfortable. So I think it's just human nature to just be like to be fearful of the unknown. And when you have so much, like you said, unknowns, like if you come from a small town and you move to Toronto and you're around just like all of these diverse individuals, it could be overwhelming at first and you could develop, like it's not even developed, it's just there until you get to know more and feel more comfortable around it. So be curious, like you said, not judgmental. So like just and I think that comes from like an academic brain. Like we're all academics here. Like we all really like to learn. I know that. I don't know much about you, Ryan. I know lots about right now. Me and Raina love to learn. And you, like you said, bring me empirical evidence and I will
Yeah.
listen to you. So academic brains tend to go that way, right? Like we're not judging. We just want to know why. And see, that's where my fault comes in is like when I was getting all of this hate directed my way, I wasn't looking at it the right way. It was triggering me and it was triggering me in all the wrong ways and I was reacting in all the wrong ways. And some of the stuff that I was doing, I should have been looking twice. Like I should have I some of the stuff that they were saying is 100% valid. I was just taking everything as hate because of my past and because of my trauma. Not excusing it, just saying like, then I had to go back and look, ask friends, like ask Raynell, um, talk to people about it and figure out like, what is this about? What is it about these people and what they're saying that's making me feel this way? And why are they saying it? And um, basically it just goes back to me just thinking like that I still needed to fight. And that message I got yesterday where the girl says, your fight's over. You don't need to fight anymore. Like it's done, you know? That really hit me hard. Like that actually like really hit me right in the heart. Like no one's ever said that to me before. And it's like, you're right. Like I'm not under attack anymore. I'm safe. Like I'm not on the streets. I'm okay. Like it was like these people were my past. They were my past bullies. They were my ex-husband. They were my ex-husband's sister who used to bully me. Like they were all her friends. I was personalizing these people. But they weren't them. They were just whoever the hell they were. I have no clue who they were, to be honest. They were all anonymous, but still, like I was making it personal. So that was my bias coming in. My that was my fault. Like, and that was something that I needed to look at and not be judgmental, but curious and curious about my own actions, not theirs, mine. But I could also look and be curious about their actions, but I know it comes from fear. And I always used to say that to them. I'd be like, it's fear, it's fear, it's fear, it's fear. But nobody wants to admit that they're scared because fear and being scared is a form of weakness.
Yeah.
Society frowns on weakness. A man is never going to admit that he's scared. Find me a man that will tell you I'm scared. I'm still okay. Well, there you go. Thank you. Thank you for saying
Holy
that.
shit, there's a spider in here.
Yeah, like you
Run.
know what I mean though? Like most men are like, oh yeah, no, like I'm not scared. I'm not scared of shit. I'm not scared of that guy. I could beat the shit out of that guy. That guy's a pussy. Like, you know what I mean? That's most men or ones I've met anyways. Like they don't like to admit fear or any sort of weakness. So that's
You're touching on something really interesting. Um, so I think I've been doing photography and videography for close to 10 years now. What you're doing here, whether you think it is or not, is a form of expressive art.
yeah,
Photography and videography is obviously a visual form of expressive art. Putting your art out there to the public is super fucking vulnerable and terrifying.
that is.
When somebody's critical of what you've poured your heart and soul into, it's very easy to take that personally.
Yeah,
It's taken me a long time to just say, oh, well, different strokes for different folks. If you don't like what I'm putting out for content, change the channel. That's what they invented a remote control for. And for the people that we've either helped with a sobering story, um, so I'll digress a little bit here with my Sunday morning ADHD. The whole reason why I started with photography and videography was to make people happy. A friend of mine, her dad passed, and at a celebration of life, she had a picture up of a place that my dad and I used to go. And I said, "Hey, can I have a print of that?" 6 months later, after asking her, she said, "You know what? I don't have the emotional capacity to go through his stuff." So she threw me his camera. And she's like, "Go take it yourself. You know how to do it." Because, I used to have the little cell phone cameras and always kind of took okay pictures. And then I started kind of evolving a little bit from there. And a friend's parent reached out and she said, "Thanks for posting photos. They make me smile sometimes when I'm having a bad day." And I was like, "Well, that's cool. I mean, making people smile doesn't pay my mortgage. So there's definitely a point in time where you have to monetize things. And,
yeah.
expressive art isn't a charity. It's something that we all have to pay bills in. And so things obviously evolved from there to charging people for it. But initially it was just like, I'm going to post these pictures on social media because they make people smile. And they're doing good in the world. And when you put that out there and the next person says, "Ah, that photo's dog shit," it hurts the first few times. But the more they tell you that what you're doing isn't the way you should be doing it, or you shouldn't be doing this, or you shouldn't be doing that. Again, for you, it likely comes with your past. But who gives a shit?
Actually, for us now, I don't know if Raynell doesn't read any of the comments, which she's very smart for not doing. I do. For Raynell and I now, it's we are monetizing advocacy. Small business and advocacy don't go together. And
Nope.
we are preying on the vulnerable by selling
Yes.
and we are doing unethical business by doing $200 cash giveaways for subscribers on YouTube. Um, we're profiting off the backs of addicts and home, like basically we're leeches, or we're all
Yeah.
about the money.
Oh, yeah.
That's what they
Still
say
is a
about
sobering
us.
story. And it's
Yeah,
even worse because we're not in recovery and we're not former addicts. So we're even worse than you are. Um, I haven't sat down and calculated it in a long time, but you do 52 interviews and you're talking about an indie film. For anybody who's curious about how much we've made from a sobering story, I think I probably maybe up to $1.75 an hour for the time that I've put in, somewhere around there. So, you know, um,
right?
I'm pretty much rich at $1.75 an hour.
Oh yeah. Well,
It's gonna, yeah,
It's
and
wild,
the
right?
thing with Raynell and I is like we've made this a business. So this is a for-profit business, our podcast. The amount of time and effort that Raynell and I put into this,
it's insane.
you have no idea. And to say what our profit margin is even more hilarious, because we're at about minus. I don't even want to know. I don't even.
Yeah.
You don't
We've
even.
invested so
Nobody. You
much.
have no idea how much money we have invested into this, and it's money that should have been going to my wedding, and it's money that should have been going to a lot of other places. Um, Lots. We've invested more than, think of a number that you're thinking of and then double it. And then that's what we invested. And what we've gotten back, think of that number and then divide it by 10. So like, yeah,
Yeah.
we have not profited
Well,
nothing off of this. And the time
and
and
I
effort
think
we
I
put
just
in
I
is
just want to
insane.
say quickly, like we we have invested so much of our own combined together into this because this is something we believe in. This is
Exactly.
something that we're passionate about,
Right.
and we see and we hear and we're told about the difference that it's making for our viewers, for the folks that we interact with, like personally, for ourselves. Like it's just this um huge positivity bubble for so many people. So it's like and when Cheyenne talks about some of the messages, the negative messages that she reads online, I'm like, just don't even.
Right.
And what's worse about those messages, at least in my opinion, is they're coming from fake accounts.
All
So
of
it's
them.
like it's not even open for like a constructive conversation because this person is hiding behind a name that like they just don't want you to know because obviously they must have a real account, but they don't want to say anything.
Right. And it's
Keyboard
funny.
warriors.
Yeah. And it's funny because
Frustrating.
we've already announced what this business is a segue to. It's a segue to the charity that we are starting, which is almost registered now. And that is the charitable work that is going to have so much. And I don't think people in Thunder Bay understand that people that work at charities get paid. I don't know where they think that
Yeah,
I don't know where they think that somebody that goes to work for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, 40 hours, goes there on their
is
free time.
volunteering.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know what Thunder Bay is thinking, but
Well, let me throw this out there for your listeners and people who've seen a sobering story. Um, I'm gonna flip it around and say that I'm lying, and I made $175 an hour, and we've put 200 grand in our pockets from a sobering story,
yeah,
which isn't true. I'm just making this up.
yeah,
Your podcast, you guys are making 5 grand an episode. Wonderful.
yeah,
Now, I can't speak to your podcast, but I can speak to a sobering story. And I can say from the screenings and the Q&As after, with having a certain someone who may be on your podcast soon, we've got more than a handful of people into treatment and potentially save their lives.
right.
So if we did make $200,000 off of a sobering story, can you put a value on someone's life? If we save 5 people's life at $200,000, when you were both in addiction, would you put a value on your life? Like there's no monetary value you can put on somebody's life. So the amount of good that the podcast and the film have done, regardless of who's monetizing it or if it's disgusting that you guys are monetizing this, well, we're paying our bills and we're saving people's lives. What more do you want? What more can we do?
What better work to be doing? Like,
Right.
what other work would you like me to do? To go serve your coffee at Tim Hortons, or would you rather me work for
Yeah.
my money at saving lives and doing this kinds of stuff? Like, I
Those jobs are valuable too. I just want to
they
say
are
for all the
valuable.
people who work in those jobs, those are
So
important as well.
of course, but I'm
But
saying
we're,
this is
yeah.
profound work. It's
I see the yin and the yang here. I see the
right.
yin and the
But like,
yang.
okay, but what I was trying to get at with this was it takes a certain type of person to be able to do this. This is exhausting. This is not only exhausting, it's putting ourselves out on a very big limb when it comes to the risk that we're taking with everything that we're investing into this.
Yeah.
So to criticize Raynell and I in any way, shape, or form, well, would you have put yourself out on a limb like this? Would you have invested this much into it? Would you be putting in your entire Sundays recording and then all the rest of the week promoting, working on the website, doing all the paperwork, doing all the invoicing, doing all it
Yeah.
like would you? No, you wouldn't. So I mean, it takes a hardworking individual in order to be doing this kinds of stuff, and it takes somebody with passion and somebody with um yeah with the risk taking um personality traits, I guess, whatever that would be. Like it takes a certain someone, and to come after that certain someone, well, like what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like why come after the people that are capable and the people that are willing? That's another thing. Like i I didn't see
It's
any
noise.
it,
It's
it
noise. You just have to learn to ignore the noise. I mean,
yeah.
every professional goes through it. There's a rate my MD page for doctors. There's athletes being slandered on social media.
Yeah.
You just professionals have to learn to ignore the noise and keep going.
Oh yeah.
Um, eh, there's a reason why our podcast only lasted 6 episodes. That's it. It's all I had the time and energy to do. I know how much a podcast, how much energy and effort it takes.
Yeah.
I know what you guys are going through from that standpoint, and there's a reason why we don't have one anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I
It's
mean,
not that we didn't want to do it. It's not that we didn't want to help people anymore. And for us, the difficult part was drawing a line between advocacy and filmmakers. Because at the end of the day, as much as we care about people, and Kyle is one of my absolute best friends. I would take a bullet for him without a question. Um, we're filmmakers, we're not advocates. I didn't live the life that you did. And for me to sit here and say I'm an advocate is an ally, absolutely. But to say I'm an advocate would be phony because I haven't gone through it. I haven't lived that life and experienced that.
yeah.
Would I help somebody who asked for help in that? Absolutely. I could tell you a story about a friend from 6 years ago that I had met, and she disappeared for 5 years and dove deep into addiction and reappeared about a year and a half ago after the film came out. And I think I won't don't want to reveal who it is or anything, but has, a little amount of recovery time after going away for treatment. So, I mean, anybody who's lived that, yeah, I'll help them out, but I can't sit here and say I'm an advocate because I didn't live that life.
Yeah. And it's okay for me and Raynell to be advocates and business owners at the same time. Like
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that. And the fact that we want to do a charity and we want to put our feet to the ground and we want to actually go out and help, firsthand people and use our skills that we have learned in addiction and in our professional life. And,
I think like
hey, like
um like for Cheyenne and I, like even like, and I'm speaking from like we've known each other for forever.
yes.
I would say like even before during like active substance use on both of our ends, I would say we were pretty like motivated, savvy and smart,
Oh yeah.
survivors and able to kind of will definitely survive in ways that a lot of people couldn't or like didn't have the ability to do. But I think like we have always no been determined and outgoing to expand like bigger and beyond
Yeah.
any type of situation that we've been in. And I think that's what makes us super great business partners and best friends is the fact like you said earlier, Ryan, like yin and yang, like we
Yeah.
balance each other so perfectly in certain areas. But that's why we're turning some of the most horrible, traumatic, difficult, dark days of our lives into something powerful and meaningful, and channeling like our transferable skills into something
Yes,
beautiful.
right.
Um, and
Just
why
go
we
out and say it. We're hustlers.
Um, yeah, I guess, yeah, you could put it that way. It's like
Yeah.
we're just like expanding and growing because that's always been how we've lived our lives is we're not just gonna stop at one thing. Like we're gonna continue to grow and build as far as we can to help as many people who have experienced or are experiencing or prevention of what we've gone through in any way that we can. I think like we've seen firsthand things that, at least in our personal experiences, things that work, things that don't work, from two different lenses. And that's why we think it's also so powerful that we hear about other people's journeys too, because of course we can only speak on our backgrounds and
Yeah.
what we've gone through and make decisions based on the education and all of the information that we've received, but also coming from a lens of experience. Um, because like our recovery journeys were different,
Yeah.
in the fact like, you know, I had to leave Thunder Bay to go to treatment, and I went to second stage, and Cheyenne's journey is a little bit different. Like she her journey started while she was incarcerated, but those are two very often ways that people do recovery. People also don't sometimes go to treatment, or they don't do it when they're incarcerated. So
Yeah.
there's all these different things, but that means we have different viewpoints and ideas on what works, but we also hear from the community.
We also have different addiction lives. Like our lives in
Yeah,
addiction
we did. Yeah,
are very
big time.
different. Very different. We
Yeah.
were we were friends in addiction, but we lived separate ways. Like, yeah, like we were hustlers in two separate ways. So yeah, yeah, it's just it's it's good to hear, like Raynell said, all sides. Because no two
Yeah.
people are the same, you know? So
Yeah.
yeah,
And think about some of the pharmaceutical companies. Suboxone. Would we sit here? I think a majority of your listeners would agree that it's helped them at some point,
oh yeah,
just like you're helping people. Does the drug company give it out for free because they're good people?
right.
Yeah.
There's a
That's
lot of people that
yeah.
profit off of addiction. It depends on how you're doing it. If you're charging people 5 grand to come on and do their story and be able to come on and tell it, well, that's a completely different story than you getting them on here and letting them, having other people hear their story to share and to do good things. It's a matter of how you're doing it, not what you're doing, because there are a lot of people that profit from addiction.
Right. And and it's funny because there could be a lot of people profiting off of recovery, and
Mhm.
instead they choose to profit off of addiction. And but that's the bigger profit is with the addiction. Like the book that I was reading and that I made a post about today in the video, holy crap, the eye-opening, like I couldn't put that book down last night. It was insane. Like not only is this drug war and criminalizing drugs, it's profiting the pharmaceutical companies, it's profiting the jails, it's profiting the police, it's profiting it's profiting everything. But not only that, but it's profiting the drug dealers. And then the drug dealers are paying the police, the governments, the everybody. Like they're making it a multi-billion-dollar industry, billion, like multi-billion dollars across all ways, shapes, and forms and spans. And who is the one taking all of the fucking flack, all of the heat, all of the shame are the vulnerable, the vulnerable, the poor, the minorities, and the ones that are addicted on the streets. And they're all the victims of this huge thing that could be stopped. I mean, we all know that there's answers here and that nobody is doing anything to correct anything. Like jailing up people isn't doing nothing. It hasn't done nothing for 100 years, jailing all of these addicts and all of these drug dealers. Like it's worse than ever. It's always going to be worse than ever. The murder rate is going, like the drug underworld is out of control. How do you take the drug underworld out? How do you take it out? You
I
take
never will.
you take the drugs. You do you find me a weed dealer right now. Find me one individual sold weed dealer in Thunder Bay who sells weed because you can't find one. Like you cannot. Why? Because there's a weed
Uh,
dealer on every fucking corner. That's why.
a
So,
bootlegger making mint julep in his bathtub, like that
right,
that doesn't happen
exactly.
anymore either.
Exactly. Like find me one
Um,
because you can't. Like maybe after hours. There's an after hours fucking
yeah,
marijuana dealer, but that's it.
but
Like
that's capitalism. That's the society that we live in where everything has to be for profit, right? And
yeah,
I've said this before, and I've said it somewhat publicly. Uh, I'm gonna get myself in shit probably, but people in Ottawa and people in Toronto don't tend to care about people who are homeless and addicted. They don't pay taxes, they don't vote.
yeah,
Those people don't contribute to society. And again, if people are listening and can't see, there was some really big air quotes there.
yeah,
Um, they're part of the problem, not part of the solution. And it's difficult to see people you care about being marginalized and not cared about and cast aside.
totally.
And I don't have the answers. I don't know what's going to change. Um, I had a conversation yesterday with a friend of mine who is a mega Republican in Wisconsin.
Yeah,
Um, it was very interesting because we both came to the conclusion together that having supports, affordability, and access to mental health would cut the crime rates in half. It would cut the gun violence in half, and it would also cut addiction in half if people had the ability to get intensive psychotherapy for their problems, regardless of what they are. We would be better as a society, I think, if those things were available. And again, might get canceled here. Who's going to pay for it? The government doesn't care.
no, exactly.
There's some that do, there's some that don't. I'm not outing any politicians or anything like that. I mean, I think there's some local politicians who do a great job and that are trying their best to help people here around the city and in northwestern Ontario. Um, but who's going to pay for it?
Yeah.
It would solve the problem. You want a solution? It would, I mean, it's not going to solve everyone's problem because, like you said, there's a million different answers to a million different questions, and it's far more complex than that. But let's try that as a starting point.
You know what I think is even a better solution after reading that book? Having a cocaine and an opium store on every corner and selling it. I'm not kidding. Back in the 1900s, that's how it was. You went to a pharmacy and there was these little pills that they would sell to housewives that had a tiny bit of opium in it, and they would give it to them just so that they could get through their day, and they were fine and they were still cleaning their house and they were okay, and they got prescribed doses of opium and they got prescribed dose, and then there was coke in cocaine, or there was cocaine in Coca-Cola. Nobody had all of this fucking chaos that we have going on around here.
So
I know,
I
but think about what would happen if we legalized opium and cocaine and could get them prescribed by a doctor.
Okay, that's what I was just gonna say. I was gonna say I don't agree that it should
No,
be
no, no,
just
no, 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 no,
sold
no, no,
on
no,
every
no,
corner.
no,
I
no,
was like, I
no.
think that's
By
gonna
a
actually
doctor, by a
that's gonna
doctor.
Sorry, we got to stop this podcast. I got to go to the cocaine store.
right though. So I was just about to say, I was like, I don't think that's gonna be the solution, man, because things have changed
No, I
so
know.
much. But if we legalize and we like we talked about before we started recording this, there are places in the world that have done similar things and have watched their addiction crisis go down, their homelessness crisis go down. It's taken a couple years to get to the point, but they don't have the crises that we're seeing here. And it's
Right, because
wild.
they have support for mental health.
Right.
I,
Even if you legalize the drugs and you take it out of the drug dealer's hands, there's still people that are marginalized. There's people who have suffered so much trauma that
Yes.
no amount of drugs may fix their trauma. It for me, it's the mental health portion, and then you
Sure.
deal with the supply and the substance after that. Even if cocaine's legal and you can be prescribed by a doctor, you can be just prescribed any kind of opiate from a doctor, and you're still going to abuse it if you've had trauma. So
100%. Yeah.
I think I do agree with what you're saying in some ways that legalization is the government can get their tax money off of it. That money can go to mental health and therapy. Like
Oh, the crime.
it's
Think about what would the drug dealers do? How could they compete? They wouldn't be
the
able to.
criminal element will always find a way to stay ahead. They'll find a way to stay a step ahead. I really truly believe that.
Yeah.
Um, because to go back to what you said, I'm very pro jail. I'm very pro prison. However, the current system that we have right now does not reform anybody.
Yeah.
It further not I was going to say incarcerates already incarcerated. It further criminalizes people because there's not reform in the prison system. If there was reform in the prison system, I would be far more in favor of it. Things have to change there as well. And I think there was a line in a sobering story, and I can't remember who said it, but it's such a complex issue from drug
Sure.
supply to trauma to mental health to everything in between that there's just not a simple answer. But I think we can probably all agree that what we're doing right now isn't working.
100%. Yeah, we
100%.
say that all the time. Like what we're doing right now is not is not working. It's exacerbating the problem. And I think it's like I don't remember where I seen this, but it was like the metaphor of basically like we're all standing in a river, especially like I'll say like social service workers or social workers standing in a river just trying to like block the water from flowing instead of us like standing at the top of the cliff where the water's pouring off and like doing something actually about it. We're putting band-aid solutions on a problem and we're just seeing nothing is changing because how can it?
Yeah.
How can it? Like we're dealing with a problem at the front line when it's the policies and it's the funding and it's all of these other things, all these missing pieces that we don't have control over as frontline workers or people who are
Or as
in the
advocates, like,
in yeah, it's frustrating because it's like we see this problem just like continuing and continuing and getting bigger and bigger. And it's like we know what is happening right now isn't working. So there's obviously something better. And I've made this like I've talked about this before, but it's like when we see only like a small percentage of success rates in certain things, we have to ask ourselves, well, what can be changed in order to make it better? Because could you imagine if like for cancer treatment, if there's a cancer treatment and they're like, well, it's only a 5% success rate. Like something would change immediately in that regard. Like there would be more research to find like treatments that worked better, like 5%, or like if you're flying an airplane across the country, it's like, well, there's only 5% chance that you're going to make it to your destination. Like the, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like it doesn't make sense. Things wouldn't allow that, but because this is a stigmatized and vulnerable populations, like, and it makes so much money in the background, like you're saying, that people just don't acknowledge it as like the importance. I don't even know.
Well,
Like you said, it's so complex and there's so many like contributing puzzle pieces that go into this situation. But like you said, we can all agree on one thing. What we're doing right now isn't working. Something's got to change, something's got to give. There's got like on I don't know, I say this all the time. There needs to be more supports, more mental health. Absolutely.
And I want to,
would that be like picking a football team like the Buffalo Bills, knowing that there's a 95% chance you're going to lose to the Chiefs every year in the playoffs?
no, they're not. Like
Oh, okay.
This is the Bills
No,
year.
we're going on stats here, Shy.
No,
We're not going on. You
Bills are
sound like your
winning the
husband is
Super
a Leafs
Bowl.
fan. This year's our year. This year's our year.
No,
Yeah,
no,
we've heard
no,
it
no,
before.
no. Bills are
Yeah.
winning it this year. But hey, I want to go back to my little point here before I
Sorry.
get that's okay. Before I get canceled and made fun of for that whole comment about the cocaine stores and heroin stores. That's not what I meant. But where I got that from was from that book where when that Harrison Act was implemented and he was going around and anybody who had even just the tiniest bit of heroin on them were getting arrested and put in jail. So he was really after Billie Holiday, the black jazz singer who was addicted to heroin. He had it in for her and he had it in for anybody. But one of the doctors, there was a clause in the act where the doctors were allowed to prescribe opiates to addicts to help addicts get better. There was a clause where a doctor could still do it. So this one doctor decided to open up his own clinic and he was treating heroin addicts by giving them little bits of heroin throughout the day and he was seeing this huge difference. they were starting to get better. They were starting to go back to work. They were starting to get reconnected with their families. The crime rates were going down, and the people in that city or that state in the United States were thanking him like, holy man, this is working. Like people are getting better. This is amazing. He brought it back to the pharmacies. He brought it back to the doctor's hands. And this Henry Anslinger guy that was the head of the narcotics thing found out about it, sent all of his chopos in there to just annihilate and imprison all of them, saying that you're going against the Harrison Act by by giving out opium to people. And then he wrote a book, right? And it said, humans addicts are human beings. And he said, if you guys continue to criminalize drugs the way that you're doing, you are going to have a $5 billion drug empire, underground drug empire in 50 years. And then in the book, it says he was correct almost to the day of that book, that 50 years later, we have a huge criminal drug empire, an underground drug empire. He said everything. This guy had so much science presented to him at that time in the 30s saying what you're doing is wrong. It's not going to work. Like the drugs aren't like, and he was using the minorities, the blacks. He was using communism. He was using all these things that people feared and connecting it to the drug. He was saying, "Oh, it's because they're on cocaine. It's because they're on heroin. They're coming in here and the blacks are giving heroin to white women and raping them at parties." And he was actually saying this like loud and proud in the papers. And corrupting people's minds on these drugs. And then all of a sudden the pharmacies were not allowed to give it out no more. Everybody was still addicted because they were using it for so long, and now they had to try to find a way to get their drug and had to get it from the mafia, the China, whoever was bringing in these drugs, and the cops were all in on it anyways this whole time. Like they were allowing it and profiting off of it themselves. So like the whole thing was just corrupt back in the day, and look at where it's gotten us.
So
Like
he's created basically a social problem
he's a
because of his
he's the
own
sole
bias, and
he's
now we
the
actually
yeah
it's
he's
there,
the
and it's a
sole
problem.
creator of this entire fucking problem. And
Yeah.
the book is mind blowing. Like, read this book. Like, it's called Chasing the Scream. And it's because when he was a kid, he saw a woman screaming in a barn, withdrawing. And then the guy went out and got her heroin from the pharmacy and gave it to her, and she stopped screaming. And it freaked the shit out of him as a kid. And he had a personal vendetta against drugs. And then he got handed over the bureau, and then alcohol was legalized, and he didn't know what to do with this bureau. He had nothing to go after. So he said, you know what? Then I'm going to go after the opium and the cocaine. And he criminalized it. And the second he did that, everything got fucked. So
Here's an interesting thought though, and I'm not trying to gaslight anybody.
no.
So during the whole Trump thing with removing illegals from the United States, there's
So much
jobs
about
in
this.
the
I won't.
United
Yeah, I
no,
don't.
there's jobs in the United States that most Americans wouldn't want to do, and it's been shown that a lot of farmers in the Midwest have illegals working for them, and if those people were removed from their labor force, the farmers would not have workers. They wouldn't have labor staff. They wouldn't have labor.
Yeah.
So that kind of reminds me of since the 30s, as you're talking about, we can all agree that a lot of Black people in the United States have been marginalized through the 80s and 90s. Reagan flooded a lot of communities with cocaine and crack to get people addicted. I kind of wonder what would happen to the people who are already so poor that make a living selling drugs. Unfortunately, the only way they can survive in those places, how that would impact them if poverty would actually get worse in some places because of it becoming legal. I don't know if that's a crazy thought or if I'm offending anybody,
It's not
but
a crazy thought. It's actually it's a curious thought is what it is. And it's yeah, I mean it does make sense. Like that's what, and then the part in the book that I'm at right now is a story from a real life person like in today's times, that was running a teenage gang, and he describes the world Raynell and I lived in for quite a while, and I relate to his story very much. And that's what he said, you're drawn to that because there's nothing else. It's either your food or you're fed. So you pick one or the other. So when you're in those poor neighborhoods in like the, low end projects, you're either someone's food or you're the one getting fed. And you're right.
Yeah.
If you took away the food, who's getting fed? Now there's only now nobody has anything, So you are right. It is their currency. And if you take away their currency, what's left? But then again, the people who are food are the ones that are overdosing, the ones that,
Right.
don't have their children, or, the ones they're very much victimized. Um, but it's like a Darwinism, like survival of the fittest. And that's how it is out there. And I like, it doesn't have to be like, it's like, why does it have to be that way? Like, I guess just taking away the drugs, isn't the solution, because you're right, it would cause a whole ripple effect of other problems. So like, yeah, it's a very good question. I think it's a great question, actually.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, I mean, we're
And
talk- we're
yeah.
talking and we're talking and we're talking. We can talk till we're blue in the face, and it's just like, it's just so
But
frustrating.
that's important though, because I know that I'm not in the 1%, and I truly believe that's why I dropped out of a master's in public policy. I'm not part of the 1%. I'm not going to be able to facilitate change. I'm never going to have that kind of money, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But we can keep the discourse and the dialogue open, nonviolent, and peaceful,
Yeah.
and hope that the conversations inspire other people. And um having gone through some shit in my life, um, I realized that people are never going to truly understand what you've been through until they've been through it themselves to some degree. Addiction, grief, trauma, it's one thing. No one's ever going to go through exactly what you've gone through, but once you've been through addiction, you've been through addiction. You can walk the same mile as somebody. You can't walk in their shoes, but you can walk within a close proximity of them. When you've gone through grief, you understand for the most part what somebody's gone through. You're not walking again in their shoes. You're walking the same mile they have. So I think a lot of people in privileged positions that make policy and shape policy haven't lived or gone through that. And sad to say, I think somebody has to go through that before things actually become the change actually occurs. And I don't wish that on anybody specifically. Um, I learned very well through karma that it's okay to wish people harm, just not specific harm. I'm kidding.
I mean, that's what I'm hoping Raynell and I do. Like, I wanted you to raise your hand too. I want us to be the change. I want us to, like, me with my academics, that's one thing. Like, I love research. I'm just an academic at heart. But that's not what this is. Like, my is one thing. It's separate from what me and Raynell want to do. Like, we want to be the change. Like, we want to be those people. And like, um, I've always said people with lived experience need to be in high power positions, and yeah, you need to be real loud and real annoying and real in people's face and real, not like I was sensitive, need to grow a thick skin, and do it because um yeah, there's going to be ridicule, there's going to be pushback, but like, I don't know, man, me and Raynell have it in our heads that this is what we're going to do, and we're going to do it
Yeah.
to the fullest ability. And whether we succeed or whether we fail, that does not matter. Like, I don't think you care either, right? Right? Like, we're just going to give
Well,
it a shot and
yeah,
try our fucking very best to make
we're
this.
we're what we're trying to do is like be an aspect of the change and live our lives in the way that like we'd like to see, which is like try to be in like positivity. But basically what Shannon is saying is like we don't know for sure if what we're working towards right now is gonna work or not. But we, like I said, like we all said earlier and we all agree on, is like something needs to change.
Yes.
And we know that, we've experienced that, we see that. So we're trying something different. Um,
Right.
in hopes of achieving um that's something different that works, that's better. And it might not. We don't know. This what we're planning and what we're working towards here hasn't been done before. At least not here, not that I'm aware of.
No, I
Um,
don't think it has. I really don't
yeah.
think it has.
So we're trying that because we know right now what's in place isn't working, and we're trying to like address all different areas of it where we've struggled. But and we're gonna do it. We're working on it regardless of what people have to say, negativity.
We don't
We
even have
like
any clue if
we
we're
don't
going to get
even
any
really
funding.
care.
We don't even know
Not
Well,
if
not
funding will work. We're just giving this the best shot that we've got. And that is, that's all we can do. And pray that it works, just, yeah, pray that it works.
another one of my cheesy quote things that I think I came up with it. Um, the gap between reality and expectations is often disappointment.
Yeah.
So if your expectations are high and the reality of the world is low, don't be disappointed. If your goal is to change policy, change this, change that, change the other thing, and this podcast gets one person in treatment, don't be disappointed. It's still a success. You can still look yourselves in the mirror and say, we fucking tried as hard as we could. We did all we could. And the second most important thing you have to remember, and Carol and Carl is an absolute professional at this, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Stay fucking squeaky.
Oh, yeah.
Um, the more heads you turn, the more people that you talk to, the louder you get, the more people will pay attention to you. It only lasts a certain amount of time. You're not going to stay squeaky forever, but hopefully you get to that. You're 15 minutes and it's just at the right time where you're in front of the right person, and that can make a big change. Carolyn has done so much in this community, and there's so much more on the horizon from them because she is squeaky as fuck, and I respect the hell out of her for that.
Oh, hell yeah. You know what, your quote just reminded me of the quote that was on the Bristol board of my grade one class, where it said,
No, that's is
said,
that are you
where,
speaking to my intellect
yeah,
here?
no,
Just
where it
some grade
says,
one shit.
yeah, for real, but it's exactly the same fucking concept. Reach for the moon, and even if you don't make it, you'll land somewhere along the stars. Like, is that not the same fucking concept? If you're reaching so fucking high, you're gonna reach some
Yeah.
sort of high point. You may not reach the fucking moon, but you're gonna land somewhere along the stars. So even if we don't reach our ultimate fucking goal, we're gonna get somewhere. If the higher you reach, the more chances you have of hitting a higher goal than you would have with the lower of the expectations. Do you get kind of what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, for sure. And disappointment isn't necessarily a bad term. It has a bad connotation.
No.
Um, you can sit here and say, "Well, I'm disappointed about that." Okay, well, how does that make you feel? Well, it feels like I didn't reach my goal. Well, you tried your best. There's nothing more you can do than trying your best, right? And you have to be kind to yourself and say, well, I tried as hard as I could. I'm a little disappointed that I didn't hit my goal, but that doesn't mean I'm going to stop. That doesn't mean I'm going to quit. It doesn't mean we weren't successful. It's just sitting with that term disappointment and the connotation that it has. It can mean a lot of different things for a lot of people, right?
Yeah. And I think that with Raynell and I experience out in the world, I think that we're masters of reinventing ourselves as well, because that's something that
You have to.
something
You
that,
have to
oh
be.
yeah,
The world changes so fast, social
yeah,
media changes so fast, everything changes so fast. You have to be a chameleon of sorts
100%.
to adapt and to change. I mean, um, you know, uh, with AI coming out now, do you want to know what my AI strategy is as a content creator?
Hmm.
Find a new fucking career. Like it's it,
Right though?
things change so fast that you have to be adaptive, and you can't stay stagnant, because if you do, something will
Well,
it'll give.
it's proven. That's the only thing that is needed for success is adaptability. Like that is the only outcome. Like that's the only characteristic that is essential for survival, and that's adaptability. And that goes back to Darwin. Like if you cannot adapt, you cannot survive, and that's it. And that's in human species, that's in nature, that's in society,
Yeah.
that is everywhere. So, if you are good at adapting to your environment, which I can say 99.9% of addicts are, or even ex-addicts, then I think we've got a shot. And it's not even, I don't even want success. I just want, even if we can put up one fucking center, a running center with me and you at the helm, with me and Raynell at the helm.
And we help people. That's
And
like the number one
yes,
thing
Yeah.
that's the most important is that
yes.
we help some people and support people and be there for people where they feel more comfortable with themselves, working on some of their trauma healing, just supported, just loved.
Yeah.
Um, then it's all worth it,
And it's a win.
right?
For
If all of this shut down today, would you consider yourself successful to this point? It's a very subjective thing to the success is what you deem it to be. So you've had people on the podcast, you have people listening to the podcast. Maybe you've inspired somebody to make some changes in their life, even though small. So you have to keep in mind that success is it's subjective and it's constantly changing and evolving.
if Raynell and I stopped right now, I can say for a fact that Raynell and I would consider ourselves a success because I know Raynell has gotten numerous messages and I have gotten numerous messages of what our podcast is doing, what our voices are doing for them in their lives. So to say that would we consider ourselves successful? We've already made it, in my opinion. We've already if it were to end now, we've already made it. We've already done what we've set out to do.
Right. So
And
next time you get a shitty comment, look yourself in the mirror and say, I don't really give a fuck what this person said. I'm already successful and I've
Yes.
set out what I've gone to do.
yeah, I don't have to
Um,
fight anymore. This is just me.
you don't.
I've been
I
through.
get it. I was the same way. I went through all of this. I know exactly what you're going through because you put shit out in the public.
It's not even that.
It's
If they were
it's
to
not you, it's them.
no, but it's if they were to criticize our podcast, I'd be like, well, fuck off. Like if they were to criticize, like, I don't know, any it's not exactly the art and like that. It's like it's when they were attacking my character and then it just felt so personal, like I said. And I went through trauma that's probably not normal. Like I would say I went through some
Yeah.
weird trauma, like some very intense, different kind of trauma with a different type of person. So yeah, I would just say um yeah, it was just all me. It was just me. It was me. It was my cross to bear. It was me that it was my doing, not theirs. It wasn't the haters that were the problem. It was stuff that was still going on inside of me that was the problem. So, and I'm getting better. Like I don't have to fight anymore. Like Raynell's a huge part of that. Huge, huge part of that. I've never had a best friend. I've never had a friend that I feel comfortable talking to at any hour of any day. And I don't that I yeah, no, like for real. Like I've so much anxiety and social anxiety and I have people messaging me and I don't answer or like I've tried to be friends with people really hard and like I don't want this to sound mean because I'm friends with people like I'm friends with a lot of people, but like okay, this is gonna sound really mean, but like where it's almost like sometimes it feels like a chore. Like not like a chore, but
Mhm.
you know what I mean? And with Raynell, it never feels that way. Like it never feels that way. It feels like it's just like literally like she's just sitting there as part of my like life. Like she lives in my house. And then when she calls, it's like, oh, there's Raynell. Like, and it's like never, there's never a thought behind like calling or talking. It's just natural. And like, and that's always what I've lacked in my life. That I only found with men or with like boyfriends or husbands, never with a woman as a friend. So for that I'm like so extremely grateful for and yeah, getting way better. So
And think about that in terms of successes.
yeah,
Renell's getting to be less of an introvert and being more out there in the public. You've learned to kind of turn off the negative. And I
yes,
mean, even that's something like what we always do with a marketing plan is a SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of the company and of the business. But you should also look at that as you as a business owner as well,
yeah,
because if you're self-employed, you have to look at how you're growing and changing as a person as the business grows and changes too. And I mean, again, if it all ended today, look at all the positives that you can both take away from what you've done so far.
How fun it was. Like even just the memories and the fun. Like it would be all worth it, you know? Like so no, definitely. And I think that yeah, I think that you're right. Success is measured just subjectively and it's not even about success. I mean, it's just about really changing. And I had a vendetta. I had a vendetta against those groups. I did. I had a big vendetta. I hated the rhetoric in Thunder Bay and the way that they treated homeless people, the way that they treated addicts, the way that they treated anybody that got arrested, the things that were written about them, like just degrading the shit out of them. And I just fucking hated them. Like I fucking hated those groups. And I just was like, why are you guys such pieces of shit? And then when I had when I finally had a voice and when I finally had support for the first time in my life, I was like posting in those groups, like, I'm gonna change your fucking narrative. And then I realized, like, no, like don't fight. There's nothing to fight about. Just throw it out there and leave it and stop fighting. You don't need to be fighting the bullies anymore. You just let the bullies be um and hopefully one day you spark a change and you know, it is what it is, you know. It's fear, like we said, coming back to it, but
And
Honest,
I'll
I'm
just say something super quick. Cheyenne, at the beginning when okay, I don't want to be um promoting you to be going in those groups. I prefer she doesn't post in those groups. That's my opinion. I don't post in
she
those
can't
groups.
stop. Look at the smile on her
I
face.
know.
She can't stop.
She will message me and be like, "Hey, can you post this on this group?" And I'm like, "Oh, I know I'm not going to do that." And then I'll be like, then I think to myself, "Do you know what? I'll do it because I know what's going to happen if she does it." But I'll acknowledge the fact that when she first started doing that, there was a lot of different types of people that were saying things. Now it's like one or two people.
yeah.
So some people aren't bothering anymore. Maybe some people are thinking about some of the things she's
Oh,
saying, but
supposedly half
Yeah.
supposedly half of Thunder Bay has me blocked on Facebook. So
oh,
okay.
well,
So then there you go.
The but the interesting thing that when we talked right at the start of the podcast was connection being the opposite of addiction. I work with some local sports agency or organizations here, and I'm always very quick to encourage them to have the athletes do a little video on themselves or do like a podcast or do something. Once people get to know you and who you are and what you're about, just like they've got to know you over the podcast in the last couple months, they tend to see the real you and not dislike you as much because it's just I don't want to deal with those two. They think they're better than I am, or whatever the case is. And then they see who you really are and what you're really doing, and they educate themselves on it. And um, maybe people don't dislike you as much as you think, and that's why there's only one or two comments as opposed to half of Thunder Bay having you blocked.
anonymous
Just
comment, by the
spitballing.
way.
We'll see. There was a Reddit thread and it was pretty intense about me. I'm a crackhead, by the way. I'm on crack on every episode and it's so fucking obvious.
Doesn't even make sense.
The
I'm like, oh yeah,
the
that's cool.
just invest in the Happy Gilmore motto of life. Green jacket, gold jacket, who gives a shit? Yeah, there you go.
Right though?
Who
Like
gives a shit?
even if
Really?
I was on crack, who fucking cares if I'm trying to change the world? If there was literally an addict right now that said, "Can I come on your podcast and preach to other addicts to get off crack?" I'd be like, "Come on in." Like I could give a shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't define that person that they're if
But
they're on.
people are getting to know you in real and who you are and what you're about.
Yeah.
And it's just very much like, again, a sobering story was about educating people about what's going on, educating people about stories, and you're educating the community about who you are, what you want to do, and why you're doing it. And I think that's an important piece. And as things keep going, I think you'll get less hate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this podcast was supposed to be about you though.
Oh, whatever. And speaking of hate, with it being Sunday, I think you should have a little less hate in your heart for a certain football team.
For a certain football team. I don't know, man. I can't get over the Kermit the Frog look. Like he looks like Kermit the Frog with his curly little afro. And oh man, I just
Now, who's stigmatizing now?
well,
Calling you out on your own podcast.
it's because hey, I can have a preference on men, and I Josh Allen is gorgeous. So we have
Just because someone's good looking doesn't mean they're a good football player or not.
no,
Stigmatizing,
no,
stigmatizing.
I okay. I'm not talking about his football skills, but I am talking about his looks. And
Oh,
Josh Allen has beautiful looks, and he is an amazing football player. I mean, you cannot deny Josh Allen is not a is not a good quarterback.
I also think he's handsome. I am 98.7% straight, and I'll admit that Josh Allen is handsome.
He's freaking
I have no problem with that.
oh,
Uh,
I almost fought somebody. I was like, Josh Allen's my husband. She's like, I will fight you for him. I'm like, done.
yeah, yeah, you and 70,000 other women in the United States.
Right?
Um, but then again, I mean, if somebody said, well, those two girls are really good looking, but they're terrible podcasters. Well, see what I'm saying? You saying he's
I'll
not good
take it.
looking, but he's a good quarterback. We're rating him on his quarterback skills, not on looks.
That's true. He is a good quarterback. I'll give
Okay.
him that. But
All
but
right.
he
That's all I
does
need to hear. That's all I needed to
but
hear.
but he does he does get favoritism from the refs.
And why is that, do you think?
I don't know. I've only been a football fan for 1 year. So
Having Josh Allen, having Patrick Mahomes, having Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce makes the NFL money. It increases their viewership. It's a good thing for football. I mean, I'm not a fan of Taylor Swift's music. I'm a very big fan of who she is as a woman and as a business person, and the amount of success in an artist that she's brought to herself. I don't have respect for that many people to the level I do for her. I don't have to like her music to respect her.
right.
Um, and we can be honest, there's not a lot of women due to society that have that level of success. She really worked her ass off and hustled for it.
Yeah.
Um, Showing her face on a Chiefs game on Sunday bothers the shit out of me. However, if it brings a dad and a daughter together to watch football and grow the game and help their relationship and allow them to have time together, then it's not a bad thing, right? I mean,
Beautiful.
and if see, Renell, football can be
Yeah.
a
You got to
beautiful
get
thing.
Raynell to be a football fan. Got to watch the Bills.
The gentleman that I was talking about in Green Bay, we actually met them 12 years ago. We were tailgating, and we met them at a Packer game, and they opened their home up to us. Like I consider them family. Like they come up here every summer. We go down there every year. So sports aside from it being a bunch of barbaric men in tight pants bashing each other's brains in, sports can bring people together too in some ways, right?
And
The
for
only time I was ever like into football, and I didn't even really watch it. I only was I think it was the Green Bay Packers, and it was only because my boyfriend at the time like was huge football, like had like these huge like football, I don't know, like
posters.
all these people over and like this huge layout of food, and it was like this
Yeah.
Yeah.
huge thing, and I'm like, oh, it was so out of my area of comfort again. Like I was very introverted, and I'm like, what is happening right now? Because it was wild. But yeah, that was the only time I was really ever into
It's it's
um
weird. Like football
football.
brings happiness. I don't know what the hell it is, but there's a happiness around football season that like you cannot get back. And then when it's over and your team is out, you're like, fuck, man. Like what the fuck? Like now my happiness is gone. Like there's just something so magical about football. It's fucking weird. I can't explain it. I don't know.
Being a football fan is actually the worst thing on the planet.
No, it's not. It's
You You wish your summer's away for fall for football to start. You wish your weekend's away for it to be Sunday so you can watch more football. It's
Yeah.
not, it's not a great thing that way. I usually have anywhere from 2 to 10 people over on Sundays, all different fans. Right until the middle of October, we'll sit outside around the fire. I have TVs outside, a pizza
Wow.
oven, a smoker. It's an opportunity for people to get together and just enjoy being together and that's more what it's about than everybody's probably aware of the divide in the United States. When I'm at a Packer game and I turn to the person beside me and I give them a high five, I don't ask if they're a Republican or a Democrat before I high five them, because at that point we're all Packer fans, we're all Bills fans, we're all Chiefs fans,
Yeah.
and it's a way to kind of unite people. It's sometimes it is bigger than the game, and especially
Way
the
bigger
way
than this.
things are right now in the US, it's way bigger than the game.
You know what? Football might be the antidote to fucking addiction.
There you
Stop
go.
it.
Let's all make them fucking football fans and we'll all connect through football. That
We
would be,
can't make
Hey,
anybody do anything.
isn't one of the biggest things in recovery having a sense of purpose?
yeah,
Yes.
There you
Yes.
go. Make them all football fans. There's
make
your
them
purpose,
all
is to watch
football
football.
fans. That is purpose. Let me tell you, like, I have never looked at an NFL shop and looked at a fucking sweater that costs like $400 and been like, I think I need
I
this fucking
see that.
sweater.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh shit, that's a lot of money for a sweater. But yeah, like,
And I think on that note, even though it's your podcast, I think I do have to go here, but I do
yeah,
want to congratulate you both, and I think you've both found your sense of purpose. That's wonderful.
thank you so much.
Thank
Well, thank you for
you.
being on. This was a fun episode, and yeah, you're right. Football's starting in like 50 minutes, so we got to get going.
Yeah. Somebody slept in this morning, and I still have to cut the grass and start prepping food here. So
That's somebody.
I'm
we're not going
sorry,
to
that
point at
never
anybody.
happens. I'm usually the one sitting here first.
You are actually right. He is right about that. Okay, well, thank you everybody for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this episode. We talked about a lot of weird, interesting, different directions of things, but it was great. We had a good time, and I hope you did too. All right, bye everyone. Thank you,
Bye.
Thank
Ryan.
you.